beautiful Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa. Today is January 16 and my name is Coach Darwin Rivers and I'll be joining today by mentor Tina Coang. Our planned topic for today is the adversity quotient. How can HR professionals turn obstacles into opportunities? And our guest speaker is no other than OD professional D and Cot. Unfortunately, we had a last minute advisory earlier that because of COVID, the whole family of D has been infected and they need to have a medical emergency. So please, D, I hope that everything goes well. We're praying for you and your family. Nevertheless, we will be having Mentor Tina Coang today to discuss about HR under the new normal and what to expect in 2022. So please stand by and watch out for another value-adding episode of the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa. Now, the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa is a weekly virtual program aired every Sunday at 3 p.m. Again, my name is Coach Darwin Rivers. I'm one of the HR Cafe servers. I am the founder and president of the Philippines HR Group, the largest HR community online with more than 263,000 members. I'm a certified life coach. I'm a public speaker, a motivational speaker, and an HR consultant. I'm also the vice president for global HR operations and one of the BPOs here in the Philippines. Together with me are the other HR Cafe servers. We have mentor John Ordonez Kaasi, who's a learning and development professional. We also have mentors Rona Dale Florentino, who is the president and CEO of Aprush Social Geekers. Unfortunately, for this episode, mentors Rona Dale and mentors Burns won't be able to join us. But of course, we have mentors Tina Coang that would be joining us and would be our speaker for the second session. Hi, Mentor Tina.
Good afternoon, Coach Darwin. I hope my voice is very clear. I'd like to greet everyone who is joining us at the HR Cafe. Ngayon pa lang, marami na pong taong na nagsusubaybay at nag-greet po sa atin. And with that, I would like to encourage everyone to please leave your name, which city you are actually from, and to please give us a shout out at the HR Cafe so we can give you credit. Okay?
Agree. Mentor Tina Coang, by the way, is an HR leader with both local and overseas experience. She's a general manager of a retail company and best known for online content, tinainmanila.com. Now, every program of the HR Cafe, and we've been doing this for 2 years now, we would like to encourage people to understand what do we do here. So we provide timely news and updates. We impart knowledge and experience that are value adding and beneficial to you, our audiences. We discuss problems, issues, and challenges and provide answers and resolutions with our guest resource. We also discuss new technology, tools, and processes, as well as industry's best practice. If you have any job opening in your company, please tell us because we are also a virtual job board and we'll be happy to announce any job openings that you have in your company so that we can find you the best resource. At the end of the day, we would like to bridge understanding between employers and employees and provide inspiration and motivation not only to the Filipino community or the Filipino working community, but the whole working community as well. So when we start our program, we normally start it with the wow quote for the week. And for this particular week, since supposedly our topic is adversity, I would like to share to you a very strong quote coming from one of my idols, Miss Oprah Winfrey. According to Oprah Winfrey, you have to turn your wounds into wisdom. Let me repeat that. Turn your wounds into wisdom. That's according to Miss Oprah Winfrey. How does this particular quote resonates to you, ladies and gentlemen? Please share it to us, and we'll be happy to share it to the rest of the community. Siguro let me start with this, Mentor Tina, because this particular quote, really affects me. So, I'll start by telling you a story. I think it was early 2000 when I was, I know, early no, not early, mid of 1990s when I was part of an organization that closed down. So imagine, I was part of the HR team that hired more than 500 people. And in just a day, without any news whatsoever coming from management, our company closed down. And this was because of the fact that our main client, our only sole client, decided to put up their own center here in Manila. So they severed the ties with our company, and they are no longer interested to acquire the services. So that would mean that more than 500 people in my organization lost their jobs on that particular day. And during that time, I was talking to my HR leader and I was telling her, what has happened? Why is it that we did not anticipate it? Why is it that there were no proper communication? And everyone was in panic. I mean, the guards were not allowing our employees to go up the building. They still have their own personal items in their lockers. We have our own personal items in their office, but we're not allowed to go inside the building because, according to the building administrator, our company has already closed. So when I was talking to my HR leader, she told me that if I cannot understand the nuances of a business, I should not be in HR. That really struck me. Now, after that, it took me about 4 months to actually find work. And within that 4 months, you know for someone who's young, who doesn't have any savings, who doesn't have, who's supporting myself, and I was living in Las Piñas that time, I was down to my last 20 pesos in my pocket. During that time, my landowner, or the person who owns the place where I'm renting, evicted me after 4 months of not being able to pay my lodging, and they evicted me at the middle of the night. So imagine me walking from Las Piñas up to the Baclaran Church. It took me about, I mean, I think 2 to 3 hours walking, and I went to church because I said that at this lowest point of my life, I only need one thing. I need to reconnect to God. I need to put myself into a position where I'm able to hear what God wants me to know, because there's a lot of noises. I haven't been working for the past 4 months. I felt that my family and friends have abandoned me. I felt that I was at my lowest point in my life. So and I don't want to spend my last 20 pesos in my pocket because that's the only fare I can use to go from Baclaran to my hometown in Marikina. So I decided that I needed to walk from Las Piñas up to Baclaran Church. During the time inside the church, I was praying, I was trying to reconnect with my creator. And then I realized that um, you have to look into your situation, even at your lowest point. What does this particular situation would tell you? How will this how will that situation change you, and how will it change you for the better? Because you know what, after that event of my life, I was able to 2 weeks after that, I was able to find a new job, and I was able to bring back my confidence into myself. I was able to rent again another apartment until I moved from the career ladder. And right now, I would say that I was able to reach whatever dreams that I have in my life. Adversity is something that um, scientists or psychologists would say it's having a strong uh, emotional quotient or adversity quotient. It's more of a mental health. It's your ability to adapt on situations. According to scientists, AQ results in gains in productivity, capacity, performance, innovation, and morale. But basically, for me, adversity means that how are you able to use your difficult situation, understand it, and grow from it. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm sharing you my story because I feel that each and every one of us, mahirap, mayaman, magkakaproblema. Hindi porket mayaman ka, wala kang problema, di ba? Um, Lahat ng tao dumadaan sa problema. And the adversity quotient would actually help you realize what's important and how you can thrive out of that difficult situation. That's it from my end. How about you, Mentor Tina?
Sa akin, I've known Coach Darwin for a while na. And one of the things I know about him is talagang pinagpalaan si Coach Darwin sa buhay.
Ano
When
ba?
you
What's up?
actually meet him, when you look at him, di ba? Kasi he's the founder of the PHRG Group. He's the head of a very large BPO company servicing thousands of Filipino workers. When you look at him, you always think, oh, Coach Darwin is the peg, the person that we idolize, or sana in our career maging katulad din ni Coach Darwin because he has a lot in life. But as he shared with us today, his lot in life is something that was just given to him. Talaga, like he's like everyone, he's also experienced ups and downs. He was retrenched from a job before. He's experienced disappointments, not just in his professional life, but also in his personal life. But one thing great about him is he's pretty wise when it comes to life. Okay? Same with all of us viewers. Life happens, but it's really up to us on how to handle it. Kasi meron naman sa atin, hindi tayo college graduate. Meron sa atin, hindi mataas ang sahod. Meron sa atin, galing sa mahirap na pamilya. There seems to be a lot of obstacles in life. And yet, it doesn't really matter kung ano yung tumatama sa'yo because lahat naman ng tao may problema. What actually matters more is how you deal with it. And you
Correct.
need to make wise life decisions. Wise life decisions. Kasi if you choose, okay lang na mawalan ka ng trabaho, okay lang na magkasakit sa tao sa pamilya mo, okay lang na maiwanan ka ng syota mo, but what matters more is now that the problems have happened, how wise are you in solving the problems going forward? Because you cannot really control other people. You cannot control the company that you're working in. You cannot control the circumstances of your job. Kahit na mahal mo yung boss, paano kunyari kinabukasan namatay? Eh di wala, iba na naman ang boss mo, baka hindi mo na mahal yung kumpanya tulad, kasi iba na yung boss mo. There's so many things that happen, especially with COVID-19. Many of us have experienced family members passing away suddenly, leaving us parang natutulala tayo, hindi tayo prepared. Or trabaho, okay tayo dati, pero ngayon, hindi na okay. Or dati, lagi kang may bonus, pero this year, kasi hindi kasing ganda yung performance, wala ka ng bonus. These are the wounds that we experience in life. And wounds happen all the time, even to the richest person. I'm sure kahit si Manny Pacquiao, marami din niyang problema. Ang problema niya, lahat tayo. 'Di ba? Ang daming nagrereklamo tungkol sa kanya. And yet, he is one of the richest man in the Philippines. What matters then is how wise are we going forward in changing our situation. So you can be depressed, you can, kung nag-break up kayo ng shota mo, hindi ka nalalabas ng kwarto, pag natanggal ka na sa trabaho, magagalit ka sa boss mo, hindi ka nalalabas para mag-interview. But if you allow that to happen, then that might not be the wisest thing for you. And if you do the wise thing and lift yourself back up, and again, venture out to the world, hindi ka mawawalan ng pag-asa, chances are you will be more than where you are right now. And I will not be surprised if you will also be like Coach Darwin, who made the most of what was given to him. When you look at him, lagi yang masaya. Pero I'm pretty sure may mga araw din na hindi, na nagagalit din yan. But all the while, he's always gracious. And this reminds us we need to be gracious in the face of adversity. Lalong-lalo na in 2022 when our cases is in around 30,000 na. Eh, no point to cry. No point to worry. We
No
just
point
move
in
on.
panicking, no?
And no point in panicking. Hindi ka gagaling kasi nagpapanik ka. Instead, let us move forward. Let's be positive about it and make the most out of it. Kasi if akala mo yung mga taong swerte, walang problema, dun ka talaga nagkakamali. Lahat ng tao nagkakaproblema. What matters is how we deal with it. Okay? So next.
Agree. Now, for our HR question for the week, nako, may mga nagtatanong dito sa sa community natin. What are the possible legal implications that can happen if an employee starts working or starts to work without an employment contract? Ulitin
Mm,
natin. What are the possible legal implications that can happen if an employee starts working without an employment contract? Ano ba
mm,
mangyayari nun? Well, let's see. For me, one is there are a lot of jurisprudence already about this, no? And it has been decided by the Supreme Court that if you started without an employment contract, you are actually liable. It's a fault of the employer, and you can actually claim that you're already a regular employee for regular employment. Diba? So, yun ang mangyayari. Instead of you making, as the employer, would have the benefit of evaluating your employee during probationary period, if you forget to provide him with an employment contract, then he can fight for it and say that it was a technical miss from your part, and you can be liable, and you have to follow the ruling nga na to make the person skip probationary period and start as a regular employee. How about you, Mentor Tino? What's your take on this? Kasi believe me, nangyayari pa to. Maraming mga companies ang nagbibigay job offer pa lang. Pagkatapos ng job offer, nakakalimutan nila magbigay ng employment contract. Ako naman, ang sinasabi ko sa team ko, give the job offer, but make sure that on day one,
mm,
provide the employment contract. Kasi pa pwede namang hindi naman requirement na sabay yung job offer sa employment contract. Kasi there are also some situations wherein nabigay mo na yung job offer sa employment contract, may start date na, tapos biglang nag-pull out si client. Or kaya hindi mo na pala kailangan yung posisyon na yon. Hindi mo na pala kailangan yung post na yon o yung headcount na yon. So ano mangyayari? Nabigyan mo na ng contract yung tao, napasign mo na siya, may start date na siya. What would happen
mm.
is, pag kinasuhan ka niya sa labor, mananalo siya kasi that's a breach of contract from your end. 'Di ba? So I would remind my team, give the job offer, but always give the employment contract upon day one. Kasi if you don't give the contract upon day one, then you're making us in a situation where we have to honor the person to be a regular employee already, and that would rob us of the opportunity to evaluate a person's performance during probationary period. What's your take, Mentor Tina?
Ang daming mga, I think business writing is one of the most important skills any HR practitioner should have. A lot of businesses do not have employment contracts because it's not because they don't want to have one, but because tinatamad talaga ang may-ari na magsulat and to
O yung
let the
iba,
lawyers look
verbal
into
lang,
it.
no?
Verbal lang. And they think
Verbal.
there is no
Mm.
legal implications to that.
Mm.
My suggestion to all Filipino companies is that you need to have not only an employment contract, but a contract of probationary employment telling the candidate that that you are on probationary period and the company has 180 days to assess your performance, and if you do not reach the standard of regularization, you will not be regularized. and your contract will be terminated without yung contract will be terminated. Okay? So I think that's very important, right? Contract of probationary employment ang kailangan ibigay. And you have to be very clear with how you evaluate. A lot of people say pag first 3 months or first 5 months, doon lang sila mag-evaluate, but actually not true. You can evaluate after the first week, the second week, the first month, the second month. It depends on you on how you evaluate. And you can just file it in your 201. Iba po ang evaluation sa pagdeterminate. Okay? Iba yon. So you can evaluate every 3 days, 5 days, 1 week, 1 month. Actually, better nga na nag-evaluate ka so that the people know saan sila ngayon sa kumpanya mo, kung mariregular ba sila o hindi, or kailangan nila maghanap ng ibang trabaho. Only after good evaluation can you actually terminate a person in probationary employment. You have 180 days to do it. Kung wala kayong kontrata, jurisprudence will show that that person is already a regular employee. Regular employee. Okay? So if you terminate a person within 6 months and there is no employment contract and nagreklamo yung tao na yan sa Dole will definitely rule in favor of the employee because the assumption is the person is already a regular employee from day one. The Philippines have security of tenure, so bawal magtanggal ng basta-basta. Pero pwede po pag probationary employee na hindi pumasa sa standards ng kumpanya, basta't meron kayong contract of probationary employment at the start of the employment period, not at the end pag magtatanggal ka na. Okay? So, a lot of people say, pwede bang umalis kasi wala akong employment contract? Lack of an employment contract does not mean you are not employed by the company.
Company.
From the time that you've started working with the company, from the time that you're being paid for your services, you are already an employee of the company. And kung wala kang employment contract, better for you because you are automatically a regular employee of the company. All right? So lahat ng mga tao, makinig. Kasi kung hindi pa rin kayo nagbibigay ng kontrata, okay lang po. Jackpot sa employee, regular na po siya at hindi mo po pwedeng tanggal-tanggalin ng basta-basta. Okay?
Okay, before we continue, I would like to greet Bong Tuplano, Mirna Cabantong, Edison Adamo, Jam Leones, and a whole lot of people who are now watching the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay Iba Pa. Please tag your friends so that they too can also watch us. Alam ko maraming team replay, pero it's always good that we have live audiences in our show. Now,
All right.
as we go forward, updates from Dole. Nako, Dole is working with the Philippine General Hospital via a tie-up because part of the main projects of Dole right now is to establish what they call an OFW hospital. Di ba meron na nga tayong Veterans Hospital, meron tayong mga AFP Hospital. Now, part of the project of Dole is to establish an OFW hospital. And based on the MOA, PGA should be helping the OFW hospital in training of clinical and administrative personnel, planning and acquisition of hospital equipment, and formulation of clinical and fiscal process flow. Napakagandang balita po ito para sa ating mga OFW na meron silang ospital na pupuntahan. And I'm sure, syempre, pag dedicated sa OFW to or sa mga kamag-anak ng OFW, it will mean a more specialized and more, of course, the cost of the hospitalization is lower than your normal private hospitals. Okay? Next would be an update from the Philippine Social Security System. Nako, sabi nga ni Mentor Tina, more than 39 cases yesterday. Imagine that. 39,000 cases, COVID cases active yesterday. So, or new cases pala. 39,000 new cases yesterday, and that will bring to more than 200,000 active cases just for today. And we don't know, 'di ba? Ang ano nga namin ni Mentor Tina, ano yan underreported yung mga numbers na yan. Kasi ang COVID ngayon, ang hawaan, pamilya talaga, 'di ba? What's good about what's happening, and I'm not saying it's good because there's thousands of people who are infected with the virus, is ngayon kasi we're in the situation na marami sa atin ang nabakunahan na, marami sa atin ang may booster na, at itong variant na napaka-widespread ngayon na talagang reason kung bakit naka-alert level 3, not only NCR but a lot of provinces in the Philippines, is because the Omicron variant is very nakakahawa, talagang madaling mahawaan
Infectious.
ng mga
Mm.
tao o infectious. Now, but nevertheless, it's not as deadly as the initial virus, 'di ba? It's not as dead. Well, there's still people who are dying. There's still people who are, and sabi nga ni Mentor Tina, hindi naman 100% na porket may vaccine ka, may booster ka, o pwedeng hindi ka mamatay. Pero based naman dun sa report is karamihan sa namamatay is yung mga
Mm.
hindi na vaccine o hindi nabigyan ng vaccine. Pero again, we have to make sure to protect ourselves. So the Philippine Social Security System, it is advising everyone, kung meron po kayong SSS transaction, gawin nyo na lang po online. You can have your transaction through their website, or you can download my SSS mobile application. Okay? And another announcement from SSS is that it is now offering calamity assistance to members, pensioners who are affected by Typhoon Ovet. Effective January 14, 2022, lahat po ng mga members ng SSS or pensioners ng SSS na naapektuhan ng Typhoon Odette. Ito po yung mga nasa Mimaropa, Western Visayas, Central Visayas, Eastern Visayas, lahat po na naapektuhan mga provinces ng Typhoon Odette, po pwede po kayo at eligible po kayo mag-apply ng Calamity Assistance Package o yung tinatawag na CLAP. And also, you can also apply for a direct house repair and house improvement loan for members, and a 3-month advance pension for pensioners in affected areas. So, marami pong benefit ang mabibigay ang SSS ngayon. So, sa lahat po ng napinsalaan ng Bagyong Odette, reach out to your HR, and I'm sure your HR folks will be able to provide assistance to you in applying for an SSS financial aid. Okay?
All right, on the next news with regards to the Pag-ibig Fund, sinasabi po sa atin ng Pag-ibig na hindi na po tayo kailangang dumaan sa accredited broker or ahente na maaaring mag-alok or magbenta ng mga Pag-ibig acquired assets because the members can already go direct with Pag-ibig. This is very important, especially if you are looking for properties sana na at lower than market value na pwede ka makakuha ng pag-ibig loan. And if inalokan ka po ng isang broker, chances are hindi po siya legitimate. So, make sure to always deal with pag-ibig directly. Mas maganda din naman po kasi yan kasi pag may broker, may pagdagdag pang fee. But if diretso, mas nakakatipid pa po kayo. Okay? Any questions with pag-ibig, please look at it from their website tsaka sa Facebook account. After that, sa PhilHealth, covered ng PhilHealth ang COVID test 19 ng mga Pilipinong galing sa ibang bansa. So please, for example, for those who are returning OFWs, sabi ninyo, naku, bayad na naman tayo. Please be reminded that if you are a PhilHealth member, you do have a benefit na covered na po yung COVID-19 testing ninyo. Huwag kayo masyadong mandaya pag kayo ay na-quarantine sa isang hotel. Huwag na po na kayong tumakas kasi pag nabuking po kayo, baka kayo ay lumabas na naman sa social media, and nobody wants to be called, what do you call it? Illegal trespass. How do you say it? Mali kasi yung ginawa yung escapee sa hotel. Please respect the quarantine policies of the country. We know, tingin niyo po wala kayong COVID-19 kasi galing kayo sa isang bansang siguro mababa ang rate. However, it does not mean hindi kayo ma-infect ng COVID kasi possible pwede po kayong ma-infect sa airplane or sa airport. So please follow quarantine rules of the country. Okay? Meron din tayong mga benepisyo na alam natin. Like for example, with PhilHealth, covered din po ang testing, home isolation kits, community isolation kits, inpatient care, and vaccine injury compensation. Pag kayo ay nagkaroon ng long-term damage or death due to COVID-19, vaccination, the PhilHealth will promises to give you 100,000. A lot of people are saying kulang pa po ang 100,000 sa isang buhay ng tao, pero buti meron kaysa wala, di ba? But I'm just saying is, there is still a big coverage for PhilHealth members. I do have members of the family with who did get stricken with COVID-19, and talaga pong nabawasan ng around 700 plus thousand yung kanyang medical bills just because of PhilHealth. So even if there is a lot of bad news tungkol sa PhilHealth, there is still a lot of benefit for the regular Filipinos. So I encourage everyone to still remit their mandatory contributions today.
Okay, now for our sponsors, El Puerto Marina Beach Resort and Vacation Club. We are partnered with El Puerto Marina. They have beach resorts and vacation club in Pangasinan, in Boracay, and also in Palawan. If you would like to make use of the amenities, or if you would like to travel and make use of and enjoy the amenities of El Puerto Marina, please message El Puerto Marina FB page and just inform them that you're a member of the Philippines HR group and you'll be entitled to special rates and discounts. Next is our partnership with People Matters under the BNext program. The Philippines HR Group is partnered with People Matters Singapore and People Matters India, and they provide online certification program. At napakarami pong online certification program na to. If your company is interested, just reach out to People Matters and you can use our PHRG code, which is PHRG25, and it will give you 25% off on all of their online certification programs.
Mm.
Next. With PeopleForce naman, PeopleForce is a cloud-based HR management system that supports recruitment, engagement, HRIS, payroll, timekeeping, and also performance management. If you're interested to know more about this HR management tool, which is cloud-based, please reach out to PeopleForce or PeopleForce HRM in Facebook and inform them that you're a member of the Philippines HR group, and they will give you a 14-day free trial to test their platform. Next would be our partnership with MaxiCare. So with MaxiCare, they have two new products that I believe is great for our community because these are postpaid products. So they launched MaxiCare Prima Silver and MaxiCare Prima Gold. With MaxiCare Prima Silver, this is a postpaid product that that employees can use or your family members can use if up to 59 years of age. Now, if you have your dependents or if you are more than 6 years of age, you can use Prima Gold. And napakarami pong benefits na manibigay itong postpaid cards ng MaxiCare. So, please, you can look into the details of Prima Silver and Prima Gold at the MaxiCare website. Next would be if you have any questions or if you have anything that you would like to ask about the Philippines HR Group or the HR Cafe, please reach out to our FB page, our LinkedIn page. We have both group pages in Facebook and LinkedIn. Just search for Philippines HR group. Now, if you want to watch all of the previous episodes of the HR Cafe program, nako, we've been doing this since 2020. And napakarami na po nating mga free training programs na upload. Just go to the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa, FB page. Please like us up and you'll be able to review all of our previous episodes. And if you or your company would like to be sponsors, actually kanina may kausap ako isang company na would like to be a sponsor of the Philippines HR Group and HR Cafe. Just reach out to any of us. You can reach out to me, Mentor Rona, Mentor Birds, and of course, Mentor Tina, or you can send us an email at darwinrivers@yahoo.com, and we'll be happy to have you as one of our sponsors in our program. Now, we will begin our second part of our discussion. Sabi ko nga kanina, nako, wala po si Mr. Rodel D. Ancot ngayon. Ang topic niya dapat is about diversity quotient, no? Pero you don't have to worry because the show must go on, and we have our very own mentor Tina Coang who will be discussing about HR in the new normal. At nako, alam niyo naman si Mentor Tina is not only known because of her blogs tinaandmanila.com, but she is a very well-respected HR leader in the retail industry. And this is actually a presentation that she will be giving, if I'm not mistaken, to the LSU ba, Mentor Tina?
Lasal Dasmariñas.
Lasal Dasma, okay. So
Mm.
bago ang Lasal Dasma, nako ang mga viewers natin ngayon sa HR Cafe, ang magkakaroon opportunity to learn and understand more about what is HR in the new normal. Okay? So I'll give you the floor, Mentor Tina.
All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Our top original topic is about adversity, how to transform adversity or obstacles into opportunity. And today there was an adverse situation that happened because our guest speaker could not make it due to emergency reasons. So I ask everyone to please come with me, join me as I discuss the topic of HR in the new normal. Okay? So medyo I pray for your patience kasi talaga napaka last minute po. But I would like to bring you guys through the journey of what occurred over the last 2 years. Alam ko, marami na sa inyo ang alam kung anong nangyari. But let's go through with it together, step by step, as para at least we can see talaga, is there really an HR in the new normal? And then for anyone who wants to ask questions, please feel free to actually put your questions in the comment box. So habang pinag-uusapan natin yung sitwasyon, you can share with me ano yung nangyari in your side. Okay? Or kung may tanong po kayo tungkol sa slide na yon, please ask it directly kasi this presentation is very interactive. Tayong dalawa nag-uusap, and my purpose here is to answer the questions you might have over the last 2 years. So since the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic, everybody's already talking about HR in the new normal. There's talk about the flexible work arrangement, compressed work week, tsaka lalong-lalo na yung very famous na work from home. These are already common buzzwords that has entered the minds of every Filipino even if they are in HR or not. Okay? Everybody saying nga, parang, and I'm sure that a lot of us are already familiar with these terms. But the thing is, my question to everyone is there really an HR in the new normal? Talaga bang nagbago ang HR as a field and as a community dahil sa pagdating ng COVID-19 pandemic? I honestly think there's a lot of things that happen in the HR field na dati wala sa panahon ng mga tatay at nanay natin. For example, there are things like data analytics and digitalization of the HR. There are also usually as well, pagdating sa COVID-19 pandemic, pag unang nagre-retrench ang isang kumpanya, halos palagi ang HR department, lagi yun yung unang tinatanggalan ng tao because they always think that HR is a cost center and not a sales generator. So tatanggal sila ng tao, it's usually the HR manager ang unang tinatanggal. So the question is, do we actually still need an HR in the new normal? Especially since meron na tayong everything is about technology, 'di ba? Marami ng technology, there's a lot of business outsourcing when it comes to HR. So many companies are removing their HR departments and then hiring business process HR process sourcing na. And I strongly believe that despite all of the digitalization and technology and even the COVID-19 pandemic, HR has still remained the same and there is still a huge demand for very competent HRs. Okay? So kahit na anong nangyari, sabihin natin, ngayon the company already bought a new payroll system. So hindi na talaga kailangan ng officer na nagbibilang pa ng DTR kasi lahat automated na. Even then, I do strongly believe that even in the new normal, good HRs are still in demand. And if you are really good and if you know what you are doing, dadating din yan na hindi ibig sabihin na HR ka, mababa ang sweldo mo. And in fact, so many competent HRs have very high salaries. Sometimes they even become nagiging ano sila, CEO ng company, as what we can see in the Western world at the moment. I'd like to bring everyone over the last 2 years of our journey in HR. Okay? Kasi if we do not, lalong this talk is not just for the ones who are experienced in HR, but also those na bago pa lang sa HR and hindi alam kung anong nangyari. So I will bring you guys on what happened in 2020 up to 2022 and what's going on right now. Okay? And kung may tanong kayo sa mga nangyari, please feel free. I know many of you already know what happened. But let's go through it together, 'di ba? Para at least parang nostalgic to see if talagang are we back in the new normal or is it still the same old pa rin. Okay? I'd like to bring you back on 2020 with the happenings that changed the Philippine labor landscape. Nagsimula yan in January 2020, which is 2 years ago when the Taal volcano first erupted. Okay. It was also that time that the Philippines was introduced to the COVID-19 pandemic. To be fair, the COVID-19 pandemic was only recognized in the year of 2020. Ibig sabihin, on the year of 2019, nobody in the world, except for a few people in China, knew that a pandemic would happen. And nobody really expected the pandemic to affect millions of people around the world. This is truly a black swan event, a global pandemic nobody expected. And even personally for me, ang joke nga namin sa retail space, mahulog ng lahat, bumaha ng buong Maynila, but SM will never close. And as we can see in 2020, SM and the entire Philippine economy pretty much closed for almost 3 months. Okay? Because of a pandemic that nobody even knew existed. Okay? So let's go through it. Because of the Taal volcano, as you guys already know, di ba? Dito na-remind sa atin ng DOLE yung no work, no pay rule. Right now, it's 2022. And still, a lot of HR practitioners are asking us about the question. Ang tao po ay nasa quarantine. Sabi daw ng tao na positive daw siya kasi pumasok siya. Or work from home po siya pero somehow nakapasok ang COVID-19 sa loob ng bahay nila. Ang tanong, bayad po ba ang home quarantine period? And we can look back exactly on DOLE Labor Advisory Number 1 series of 2020, which tells us if unworked, there is no pay unless there is a favorable company policy, practice, or CBA. But if work, there is no additional pay given to employees, but only the salaries of the said day. This means from even before up until today, we follow the no work, no pay rule. So it doesn't matter if the person got COVID inside your company or not. But if there is no work done, then there is no pay. And that includes also work from home, lalong-lalo na if doon sa work from home agreement po ninyo is nakasaad po na they're following labor rules, which is kung kunyari nawalan po kayo ng kuryente, hindi po stable ang internet ninyo, okay? May nagkasakit sa pamilya mo and you are unable to do any work that day. If there is no work, then yes, there is no pay. And if you are the HR on the recipient end, and sinasabi ng tao mo, teka, bakit hindi kami bayad? Hindi naman po namin kasalanan na magkaroon kami ng COVID or mawalan kami ng kuryente or internet. You can refer to DOLE Labor Advisory Number 1, Series of 2020 on the no work, no pay rule. Okay? And there are many jurisprudence then on this because company should pay for hours worked, but if unworked, then company is not liable to pay. But if you want to pay, thank you very much. But the employee cannot demand payment if there is no work done. All right? The first case of COVID-19 was actually reported in January 30 of 2020. In February 1, 2 days later, the first Philippine case there died. Pero nung time na yon, hindi naman tayo nagpanic. I don't think anybody was really concerned at the moment kasi yung namatay hindi naman Pilipino. It's a Chinese national. So nobody really paid attention to this, right? But take a look at the date, January 30, 2020, right? Because as you can see, DOLE Labor Advisory Number 4, Series of 2020, was released in January 31, 2020, one day later, which already introduced the DOLE minimum health standards that indicate na dapat we should cover the nose and mouth when coughing and sneezing, washing of hands, don't spit at improper places, and avoid close contact with sick people. A lot of people believe that DOLE is very inefficient. However, as we can see in this labor advisory, which was only released one day after the first case of COVID was identified in the Philippines or was published in the Philippines, naglabas na po ang DOLE ng mga minimum health standards na obviously hindi talaga pinansin ng normal na Pilipino. Kasi ang haba and usually ayaw talaga nating magbasa. But in this very important labor advisory, what we can see, hospitalization benefits are not charged to the employer. Here we can already see that even if a person gets sick of COVID-19, the employer is not liable for any charges if the employer has paid for SSS and PhilHealth. Likewise, if there is no SSS and PhilHealth, the employer must be liable from the time you diagnose the sickness up until the end. A lot of Filipino employers do not pay for SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig on the first 6 months of probationary period. Nakasanayan na po natin yan. Unfortunately, COVID-19 changed the landscape. Kung hindi ka magbayad ng SSS at PhilHealth at nagkasakit ang tao mo, pwede kang to be held liable for all the recovery needed for that patient. At pag namatay, my gosh, liable ka rin po. Pero pag may SSS and PhilHealth ka, then you are not liable. This is almost like an insurance policy. And I really do believe that PhilHealth, no matter the scandal, stepped in kasi ang daming taong nagkasakit. And say what you must about PhilHealth, but they did save many Filipinos a lot of money, especially when it comes to testing and hospitalization expenses. Kasi for goodness sakes, hindi kaya ng normal na mamamayang Pilipino ang pagbabayad ng ospital, lalo na if severe yung symptoms niya ng COVID. Okay? I was telling Coach Darwin a while ago nga na when a family member of mine got sick, we were able to save more than 700,000 pesos worth of medical expenses. Binawasan talaga ng bill because of PhilHealth. So, complain if you must, but there are a lot of benefits as well in being a Filipino in the Philippines. As you can see here, there is no employer liability when staff gets COVID. Basahin po natin. If the worker is absent, You can charge that to their annual sick or vacation leave under the company policy. And if wala siyang vacation or holiday leave, then that's no work, no pay. This very, very short advisory is very crucial in helping employers and companies survive the COVID-19 pandemic. Kasi lahat ngayon, ang dami-dami nating infected ng COVID. Right? There's so many people who are unable to work because they are tested positive of COVID. Imagine, without this labor advisory, magkakagulo na ang buong Pilipinas kung sino talaga ang magbabayad sa health and and absences ng isang taong natamaan ng COVID. So this DOLE Labor Advisory number 4 series of 2020 released one day later is very crucial. Okay? In making it clear sino talaga ang liable pag may nagkasakit ng COVID-19. Next up, the government also released in March 2020 the reminder for flexible work arrangement. I do strongly believe that the government was already preparing for a lockdown as early as March. Okay? Because as you can see, they almost always release flexible work arrangement memos at the time when the Philippines is undergoing a crisis. So during the global financial crisis of 2002, they did release flexible work arrangement reminders. The Asian financial crisis in 1998, nag-release din sila ng similar memo about this. So this is not new news. This is just a re-release that there are flexible work arrangements that is made possible. Here's the question. 2 years na po ang pandemic, naka-flexible work arrangement pa rin ba ang mga tao ninyo? Okay, ulitin ko ha. 2 years na po ng pandemic, are you still undergoing flexible work arrangement? And is it legal? I'll talk about it later on kasi this is the first reminder memo pa lang. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. The first local transmission of COVID-19 was reported in March 5, 2020. On March 7, it was announced. And in March 11, the first Filipino passed away from severe pneumonia. And that was patient number 35. Most people are still unaware of COVID-19 pandemic at that time. Pero at that time, there were already rumors na there was this pandemic that was going around. But still, nobody really believed it was that serious. So it was still morely life as usual pa rin. In March 16, 2020, the government announced ECQ for the entire of Luzon. As you can see, it's only around 5 days from the time that the first Filipino patient passed away from severe pneumonia. Pretty fast. So a lot of people may say something, but to be honest, I did not expect that the entire island will be placed on ECQ. But that happened. And I strongly believe that it's because of the ECQ, which harmed our economy, that pretty much somehow saved the lives of many Filipinos. Yun talaga yung question na buhay or what do you call it? Negosyo or buhay. And the government chose buhay. And that's the first time that we encountered the word ECQ. When ECQ was declared in March, okay, it was the time wherein dun na introduce ang concept ng ayuda. Because ever since, I've never received a single amount of money from the government. Lagi-lagi ako nagbabayad ng buwis, ng benepisyo, ng fees for permits. However, uh, as you can see here, you can doon talaga lumabas yung Dole Cap. Okay? Doon talaga yung lumabas yung Dole Camp, wherein nagbigay ang gobyerno ng 5,000 pesos per person for those who applied for it. I don't know about you, but I received 5,000. I applied for it. But not a lot of people applied for it kasi at that time, Dole was sending emails via Gmail and everybody thought it was a scam. After a month, Dole Camp was closed and it was replaced by SBWS. Okay? Which offered 8,000 pesos per month for people who are qualified in NCR for a total of 16,000 pesos. Dito talaga halos lahat ng mamamayan hindi naman halos lahat, pero a lot of Filipino employees were able to get some sort of assistance, financial assistance from the government, which helped them during the lockdown of March 2020 up until May 15 of 2020, wherein the entire, almost huge chunks of the Philippines were in ECQ. Nakatanggap po kayo ng SBWS? If you have, please let me know. And for those employees na hindi nakatanggap ng SBWS, chances are hindi po nag-apply. Malaki ang chance na hindi po nag-apply yung employer ninyo for the program. Okay? Because almost everyone I knew, lalo na sa PHRG group, was able to receive. And ang maganda dito, hindi nila din, while the employer did apply for SBWS, ang nakatanggap diretso agad sa employee. Okay? So reminder to everyone, please, 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 ngayon pa lang, if you don't have it yet, number one, please gain access to your My SSS account. Number two, please enroll your bank account or cash card details into the My SSS portal. Kasi when you do this, next time po kung may pandemya uli, hindi na po kayo mahirapan makakuha ng ayuda from SSS or from the government. But also, ang importante dito is, at least, kung kunyari you want to avail of a loan, or you want to apply for an SSS sickness benefit or what do you call it, maternity benefit, hindi na po sa via check ang bigay ninyo. Diretso na po talaga sa bank account ninyo ang pagkukuha ng benepisyo sa gobyerno. So, but you need to enroll your bank account details sa My SSS po ninyo. Okay? Now, in May 1 of 2020, doon po na-release yung DOLE and DTI interim guidelines on COVID-19 prevention in the workplace, wherein the government was very clear that people must wear face masks, face shields, temperature check, health questionnaire, disinfection, social distancing of 1 meter apart. This was in preparation for everybody coming out from the lockdown, and it gave us the instruction on what to do when a person is COVID-19 positive. At that time, it was to isolate RT-PCR the suspected case, and at work is shut down for 24 hours of the contamination. Hanggang ngayon po, hindi pa po masyadong nagbabago ang policy na to. If there is a COVID-19 positive employee in your corporation, you must isolate, RT-PCR the suspected case, and put everybody on home quarantine. 24-hour shutdown for the contamination for the next group to come back to work. What's important though is that the most at risk or vulnerable groups are to stay at home. So those that were affected by this policy are the senior citizens, employees with comorbidities, and women who are pregnant. Kasi kung kunyari kayo ay buntis at pumapasok, this policy, this guideline, told told the employers na pwede kayong hindi papapasukin. And given na hindi kayo pumasok, wala kayong trabahong ginawa, no work, no pay po kayo because of the earlier advisory that I talked about a while ago. Okay? There is also the non-inclusion of community quarantine in the probationary period thanks to DOLE Labor Advisory number 14-A. So sa lahat ng mga taong nag-graduate ng 2020 at nag-pass as probationary, kawawa lang po kayo kasi hindi po counted ang pag if you were in community quarantine at hindi kayo nagtrabaho, hindi po counted yan. This rule has not changed. Ulitin ko ha, this rule has not really changed so much in 2021. And if you are a probationary employee, okay, you have to be very careful kasi hindi katulad ng dati ng 180 days po, tapos regular na po kayo. If you were placed under community quarantine at hindi kayo nakapasok, hindi po counted yung time mo at home sa probationary period mo. Which reminds me, I strongly encourage everyone, lalo na ngayon, January na po ngayon, hinay-hinay lang po sa pagre-resign. Kasi po, pag kayo ay nag-resign, balik po kayo sa probationary period sa papapasukan ninyo. And again, iba pa rin talaga pag regular employee kayo as compared to pag probationary kayo. Okay? This is one of the policies that affect you. Next. May 16, start of MECQ. Again, the government reminded us on Dole Labor Advisory number 17, series of 2020, and kasama ng Dole Labor Advisory number 9, of the flexible work arrangements na pwedeng gawin ng isang employer sa isang employee. Let us look through the small print. Sinabi po niya na the employer can negotiate with the employee with regards to the wage-related benefits, but it should not exceed 6 months. So a lot of people in PHRG are asking, binawasan po ng employer ko ang sahod ko nung ako ay work from home. Tama po ba yon? Okay? So I'm gonna ask you guys, sa mga viewers natin ngayon, is it legal for an employer to reduce your pay just because you are working from home? Okay? Again, is it legal for the employer to reduce your pay if you are working from home? Okay? Let me see if alam po ninyo. I'm sure alam na ninyo to, pero I want to ask you guys, is it legal for an employer to reduce your pay just because so many employers did that? So many employers cut the pay of people. Ginawa nila instead of 100%, 80% na lang kasi nakatipid ka naman sa pamasahe, nakatipid ka naman sa, what do you call it, sa oras na pagko-commute. So a lot of employers did cut paid. Okay? Under DOLE Labor Advisory number 17, series of 2020, what is important is there must be consent. There must be consent. There must be an agreement. You can you can you must, before you do a work from home arrangement, you must have a written agreement that states kung ano yung conditions ng work from home mo. If you're going to reduce pay or you're going to reduce working days, there must be an agreement. And this is a requirement when you inform DOLE sa kanilang website at reports.dole.gov.ph that you will be undergoing flexible work arrangement. A lot of employers do not follow this. And a lot of employees do not know. 2 years from the time that COVID-19 happened, a lot of employers are still not compliant with this rule. Pero pag kunyari wala naman nagreklamo, wala naman tayong problema. So that's the reason why so many companies get away with it. Pero sa totoo lang, before you do a flexible work arrangement, kailangan pong may consent ng employees ninyo. Paano makuha ang consent? Kayo na po ang bahala. At pag ayaw pong makonsent, you do not need to give work from home. You can put the employee on floating status for up to 6 months po. Pero after 6 months has lasted, then what you need to do is you need to pay them separation pay if you cannot ask them to report back to work. Okay? DOLE Labor Advisory number 70, series of 2020, again, May 16, was issued saying that you must agree in voluntarily and in writing. See here in section 5 that you can adjust. There must be consent. You cannot do it without consent of the employees. Okay? DOLE has shown us what are the types of flexible work arrangements. So there's telecommuting, there's compressed work week, transfer of employees to another branch or outlet, assignment of employees, reduction of normal work days, rotation of workers, partial closure of establishments, and forced leave. The question is, now it's 2 years from 2020, is your company still doing flexible work arrangement? Lili ko is your company still doing flexible work arrangement 2 years from 2020 when COVID-19 first struck? Let's go through it one by one. Telecommuting refers to work from home. So it refers to a work arrangement that allows an employee to do their work at home instead of in the office. DOLE is very clear. Work from home is not a mandated right. It is voluntary and must be agreed by the employer and the employee. Okay? There are three considerations to telecommuting. You must have an agreement. Dapat po nakasulat yung conditions of telecommuting ninyo. For example, when will a company pay overtime pay? Kung bayad po ang holidays? Okay? Lahat po, lahat po yan. Or pag kunyari nagkasakit ng COVID yung tao at hindi na siya makapagtrabaho, you must put it in the telecommuting agreement. Here's my question to our viewers who are working from home. Before kayo nag-work from home, napasulat po ba sa inyo ang agreement na to? Do you guys have an agreement with your employers? In the absence of any agreement, as what Darwin and I has discussed earlier, labor code applies and you cannot discriminate against a person working from home versus somebody reporting to the office. However, if you do have a telecommuting agreement, you will follow the agreement. Kasi if you cannot agree, then there is another option, which is no work from home, floating status na lang po kayo. Regardless, there has to be fair treatment between an employee who is working from home and an employee who is reporting to the office. And you must make sure as well with data protection, which is covered by the policy or agreement. Ito po yung mga things na pwedeng i-discuss sa telecommuting program. There is also the compressed work week, wherein instead of 5 hours or instead of 5 days or 6 days, papasok na lang yung tao in 4 days or 5 days. Pero wala na pong overtime pay. So for example, before on Saturday, pumapasok po kayo. But dahil gusto ng company na malesen yung exposure ninyo from COVID, gagawin na lang pong 5 days or 4 days na lang siya. So instead of 8 hours per day, it will be 10 hours to 11 to 12 hours per day without payment of overtime pay. Pwede po ba yun? Pwede naman po, basta po pumayag ang both employer at employee. You can also transfer employees to another branch or outlet. You can also assign them to another position or outlet. A lot of employers are wondering if, paano kunyari hindi daw pumayag ang employee? Well, there is another option out there. Just make sure na may written agreement kayo na ito yung gusto talaga ng employee. Okay? Because if you cannot, if one branch is closed, for example, kunyari ngayon, meron kang hair salon. Okay? Tapos yung hair salon na yon, di ba, naka-rest day yung tao. Yung hair salon na yon, natamaan ng COVID. Okay? But you have other branches. Other branches in other malls. Now, sa mga taong hindi close contact or hindi natamaan ng COVID, there is the option for you to move that person from one branch to the next without their consent. Okay? Para at least hindi siya 2 linggong nakatenga na walang trabaho na no work, no pay. So Dole reminds us that you can actually do that. And if a person do not want to be transferred, you do not have to force that person. But that also means that you might have to place that person in floating status temporarily until the branch opens back up again. Okay? There's also the reduction of work days and work week. So tulad ngayon, the malls, for example, are closed already at 7 o'clock dahil alert level 3 na ngayon. Okay? So if dati ang pasok ay 8 hours, it might be lessened to 6 hours or 5 hours depending on the guidelines of the government. Nangyayari po yun. And if, for example, 5 oras lang po ang pinasok, hindi nyo po kailangan magbayad ng 8 hours kasi, again, no work, no pay with work with pay. There's also the rotation of workers, which is very important in 2022. Kasi kung kunyari natamaan po ng COVID ang unang team, at least there is an alternative team who can still come back to work. And okay lang po kasi hindi naman sila close contact ng dalawang teams. So for companies in 2022, I strongly suggest that you rotate your workers and hindi lahat ng tao papapasukin nyo at the same time kasi kung meron naging positive dyan ng COVID, lahat po ng tao will undergo home quarantine. No work, no pay, no business done, no operations, kawawa po ang company. You can partially close establishments and when that happens, no work, no pay again. Nangyayari po yan sa lahat. Sino sa inyo ng mga nagtatrabaho, ang dami po mga bangko ang sarado ngayon. Sarado this week because natamaan po sila ng COVID. So I think last week there were a lot of clinics and banks that were closed. I don't know this week. I hope they open back up again. But this is, again, a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's also forced leave. Okay? And if kunyari sarado po ang kumpanya, you can utilize your sick leave or holiday leave based on the company policy. There's broken time schedule, which is very popular with restaurants. And you must make it very clear that that you insist on the no work, no pay rule. You still follow company policy. Be careful of non-diminution of benefits. and make sure that the reduction of work is fair. May mga tao kasi, may mga employers kasi galit sila sa isang tao. Ang ginagawa po nila, yung ibang tao walang effect doon sa pagpasok, pero doon sa tao gusto nilang tanggalin, binabawasan talaga nila ng napakaraming araw na pumapasok lang yung tao ng mga 1 to 2 days. Guys, be very careful of discrimination. It's okay for you to do flexible work arrangement, but you must still be fair. And if, for example, you're becoming unfair and too unreasonable po kayo, chances are baka kayo makasuhan ng constructive dismissal pag napikon ang empleyado ninyo. Here's a fun tip for many employers. Lalong-lalo na ngayon, it's already 2 years from now. So may tumawag po sa akin kahapon, sabi niya sa akin, their branch has closed because of business loss. Pandemic has struck them, walang customers, so they're forced to close the branch. Now, the people are placed on floating status and they've transferred branches to another mall. But the problem is hindi pa po tapos yung construction of branch and 6 months pa po bago matatapos. Okay lang po ba to place that person in floating status? Sa akin naman, may gulay naman. Ang tagal. Ikaw kaya, hindi kayo bigyan ng trabaho for 1 year. Right? Please, HRs, please be very careful not to be a culprit of constructive dismissal. Okay lang po to place an employee on floating status, pero po pag sobrang unreasonable po kayo, tama lang po na pag nagreklamo ang employee na yon for constructive dismissal, mananalo po sila sa dole kasi totoo lang, pinahirapan mo talaga sila as if gusto mo silang mag-resign. Okay? Next. Notice on monitoring flexible work arrangement must be informed sa DOLE at reports@dole.gov.ph. This is also the site where you can submit your 13th month pay reporting. Sa lahat ng mga HRs na nakikinig, mabilis lang po mag-login at saka mag-input ng information. Huwag po tayong tamarin. Please input it. Kasi later on, pag nireklamo kayo ng tao sa DOLE, ito po ang titignan ng DOLE kung may pruweba ba kayo na talagang in-inform mo si DOLE at ang staff na magagawa kayo ng flexible work arrangement, which includes reduction of work days, and work hours. Let us remind everyone, COVID-19 testing must still be paid for by the employer if required. Ulitin ko ha, COVID-19 testing is still, lalo na ngayon, ang dami pong mga staff na nagiging positive, 'di ba? Some employers are insisting bago sila pumasok, kailangan po silang magkaroon ng negative RT-PCR and negative antigen test. Let me remind everyone, as of the moment, many LGUs are no longer administering negative COVID-19 testing before they release the staff back to the world. So it is highly possible that your staff was positive, okay, through RT-PCR tests, underwent home isolation, and all they got is a certificate from their barangay stating that they have already finished their home quarantine or isolation protocols and are now fit back to work. If, for example, nangyari po yun, okay, wag nyo na, pag hiningaan nyo po ng rapid test or ng antigen test or COVID-19 test, kayo po ang magbabayad yung employer, hindi po ang employee. Because it is not a requirement. Ulitin natin ha, if for example, tapos na po ang COVID-19 patient na maging sa home isolation niya, and you require that person to have a negative RT-PCR before that person can return to work, the answer is yes. That person the company must pay for the COVID-19 testing kasi requirement po yan ninyo. Hindi po yan requirement ng gobyerno. Okay? And if, for example, pinapabayad nyo yung employee at nagbayad si employee at nakinig siya sa presentation ko today, the employee can actually demand that you reimburse the money that's spent on COVID-19 testing. Because according to DOLE Labor Advisory number 18, series of 2020, hindi talaga si employee ang magbabayad, kundi ang employer. Lockdown uli. Okay. As you can see from my previous slide, it's May 16, 2020, and then August 18, 2021. After that, These policies have governed how companies and employees are managed throughout 2021. Okay? In the absence of any new changes, we follow the old rules. So when the lockdown happened again in April and August of 2021, we still follow the same rules. In next, Dole Labor Advisory number 17, series of 2020, which says in August 9, 2020. Again, it says, reminds us talaga na bago kayo mag-flexible work arrangement, you must report to Dole na ginagawa nyo po yun. Hindi po automatic na pwede kayong mag-flexible work arrangement without informing Dole. And the arrangement is talaga hanggang 6 months lang. Next, August 15, 2020. This is like a year and a half ago. Okay? Same pa rin as what was issued in May 2020. If nagkaroon ng COVID-19 positive, please inform the barangay. A lot of people still don't do it in 2022. That is the reason why there are so many underreporting of COVID-19 cases kasi a lot of people who have exhibited cold symptoms and fever symptoms similar to COVID-19 are not even informing anymore. Okay, are not even informing the barangay anymore and are just doing the, what do you call it, and are just following the protocols na lang of home isolating in the office. Vaccines are free and there is no discriminations to the unvaccinated, according to Dole Labor Advisory number 3, series of 2021, which was issued in March. So much has changed till then. Because right now, LGUs are starting to issue memos of the no vaccination, no entry policy, no vaccination, no ride policy, and no vaccination, no dine-in policy, except if you want to enter an establishment or mall to be vaccinated. Magulo po ang ating policy ngayon and may lusot. As you can see here, nakasulat po. Covered establishments and employers shall endeavor to encourage their employees to be vaccinated. Any employee who refuses or fails to be vaccinated shall not be discriminated against in terms of tenure, promotion, training, pay, and other benefits, or be terminated from employment. No vaccine, no work policy shall not be allowed. Wow, how things have changed after that. Okay? Next, IATF, however, changed this in their policy in November 18, 2021, indicating that all private and public establishment, okay, must accommodate only fully vaccinated individuals, meaning to say nakavaccinate na po kayo ng 2 beses. And may nonetheless validly refuse entry or deny service to individuals who remain unvaccinated or are merely partially unvaccinated. Kasi at that time, ang dami na pong vaccines that are available. And lahat na ng gusto magpabakuna, nagpabakuna, pero marami pa ring makukulit at ayaw magpabakuna. So, lahat po to, and obviously, hindi naman po siya pinansin. As we've noticed, diba, a lot of people are saying, I do have the right to refuse vaccination. And here we can see in E and F, if you refuse to be vaccinated, okay lang po. Basta po meron kayong sufficient proof, meron kayong medical clearance from the municipal health officer ng LGU po ninyo na pinagbabawalan talaga kayo mabakuna due to health reasons. You have a choice. You could choose to be vaccinated or you can choose not to be vaccinated, pero all you need is a medical clearance from the provincial health office or the municipal health, okay? Or ang gagawin po ninyo is kung ayaw po talaga ninyo, you need to undergo COVID-19 testing every 2 weeks. Under your expense na. Kasi ikaw po ang may choice kung ayaw nyo magpabakuna. Okay? So now, in January of 2022, LGUs have now started in releasing memos that they will not accommodate unvaccinated individuals. I'm not here to debate whether this is legal or not. You may want to complain your employer to Dole if they follow this. However, mind you, okay? Pwede kayo magreklamo, pero chances are, hindi pa rin kayo makakapasok Kasi hindi kayo papapasukin ng building sa loob ng trabaho mo because of these policies. Okay? There is a difference between discrimination to work versus you not being allowed entry. Ulitin ko ha, malls are still a private establishment and can impose their own, what do you call it, policies on who they want to enter or not. If hindi kayo pwedeng papapasukin ng mall or ng building, kaya hindi kayo makapagpasok sa trabaho, hindi na po kasalanan ng employer ninyo na hindi kayo mabigyan ng trabaho kasi hindi kayo makapasok. Does that make sense? Okay? So, I think that's what is happening at the moment. A lot of Filipinos now are complaining kasi they believe that bawal po to, hindi daw to maganda. But at the same time, we need to be reminded that parang there is a little bit of lusot kasi kung hindi ka naman makapasok ng building, paano ka po makapagtrabaho? And again, work from home is not mandated by the government. There are so many changes with quarantine and isolation periods. There's so many changes. Paiba-iba po ang numero. Sobrang daming paiba-iba. And I strongly recommend that all HR practitioners like and follow the Department of Health and the DOLE page. Kasi nakasulat po doon ang pagkakaiba ng mga kung gaano katagal ang isolation and quarantine period from day to day. Right now, as of January 14, 2022, if you are a close contact of a COVID-19 patient, be it sure or not, you need to be isolated for 5 days. Okay? If you are fully vaccinated. For partially unvaccinated, that's 14 days. At the same time, if the person, for example, if you experience mild or symptomatic cases, kung positive po kayo, the quarantine period for fully vaccinated is 7 days na lang from the onset of the symptoms or positive test. Dati po 14 days yun. So HR practitioners, please be very careful about your 10 days or your 14 days. Iba na po ngayon, as you can see, if you are COVID-19 positive, and you are fully vaccinated, it's already 7 days. And if you are unvaccinated, it's 10 days of isolation. There is no requirement of negative COVID-19 testing for you to return to work. Okay? Next, isolation period. This is actually a very, very good table that indicates what happens if you have symptomatic symptoms, moderate symptoms, severe symptoms. I would strongly suggest, please monitor the DOH page kasi every week it becomes longer or shorter depending on the situation. Okay? So if for you guys to know what happens, please use this. And if your employers are afraid to let a person come in before 14 days, kasi sabi kasi dati 14 days bakit ngayon 7 to 10 days na lang? You can show this latest advisory. Okay? So at least the company can be guided kasi kawawa naman din talaga yung tao pag siya ay absent at no work, no pay just because sa tamaan ng COVID because so many people are COVID-19 positive at the moment. How many of you are COVID-19 positive? A lot of us are COVID-19 positive. So it would be nice if yon. So right now, my name is Tina Koang. I am a sub for Sir D. Ancot. Please feel free. I am opening the floor to questions. So anyone who wants to ask me a question regarding the updated policies or what's going on right now in the HR world, please feel free to ask me our questions so that I can help you at the moment. So thank you so much for listening to me. Please like and subscribe my blog. I do have a blog at tinainmanila.com. And I welcome everyone and I open the floor for questions. All right. Hi, Miss Tina! Sabi ni Joby Lynn Santos. Hi din po. O, di ba? Bilis ko mag-ano. Does anybody have questions right now with regards to the HR field? So I am open right now for questions. And then next week, we will have Sir Oliver as our special guest speaker as he will talk about discrimination in talent acquisition. So thank you po. I'd like to open questions for anyone who would want to ask. Okay? Or ano yung mga latest chika sa gobyerno. Please be reminded the SSS loan continuation program. It is already January 16. The SSS loan condonation program is only until February 14, Valentine's Day, 2022. Okay? In the SSS loan condonation program, kasama po doon ang mga taong nag-apply for short-term loans of previous years, pero hindi lang talaga nila nabayaran for whatever reason at nag-incur na talaga ng penalty sa SSS. Penalties of SSS is 1% per month. So for example, if your loan is 32,000, the penalty that you incur is 320 pesos per month. Pag kunyari hindi kayo nakabayad on time. So dagdag-dagdag po 'yon. So many people have loan problems of 100 plus thousand pesos. Okay? So please, kung meron kayong SSS loans or yung mga staff ninyo may SSS loans, please highly encourage them to, what do you call it, to apply for the loan condonation program sa My SSS. Kasi 1 month lang po yun. After that, what do you call it? Tapos na po ang loan condonation program. Sayang naman po kasi mawa-waive naman po ang penalty natin. So does anybody have a question po for me regarding doon sa SSS? Sa mga taong nag-flexible work arrangement po hanggang ngayon and are still, may tanong po ang tao kasi kahapon. Sabi niya, my staff is placed on voting status kasi they are in an industry that is not COVID-19 friendly. Ang problema, marami daw sa empleyado nila na nakahanap na daw ng iba ng trabaho. Paano po yun? Kasi right now, hindi nila alam anong gagawin sa tao nila kasi matagal na po nilang na-place in floating status. What I advise the owner is that if you have not terminated the staff, okay, or you have not followed due process in terminating the said staff is still your employee. Okay, even if pumapasok na po siya sa ibang kumpanya. So for example, if yung tao po ninyo nandun pa po sa hindi nyo pa pinapapasok, hindi nyo pa tinatanggal, the default pa rin is tao nyo po pa rin sila and hence possible na magawan kayo ng constructive dismissal kung sakasakaling balikan kayo ng empleyado at gusto nila bumalik sa kumpanya ninyo. So in order for you to not have that problem, one possible solution is to offer them separation pay so that you can formally terminate them from the company. So for example, magkano po ang separation pay? Separation pay is 1/2 month pay per year of service. Half month pay per year of service, minimum of 1 month. So for example, yung tao na yon ay nagtatrabaho sa inyo ng 1.5 years. 1.5 years pa lang. When that is the case, you have to pay that person 1 month of separation pay lang. Okay? May isa pang tanong, what if for example, may isang staff silang namatay of COVID-19? Kailangan po bang bayaran ng separation pay? The answer is no. You do not need to pay separation pay. Employer is not liable if the person died. Okay? Even if sabihin ng tao na nagkaroon siya ng COVID-19 because of sa trabaho, the employer is not liable so long as you have paid SSS and PhilHealth. Pero any sort of financial help will be good for the family. It is up to you if you want to give separation pay, but government does not mandate for you to do so. Okay? So kung gusto niyo tulungan, one guidance can be half month, but that is not a requirement. And if you do not pay, you do not help, you are not at fault. I have a question. Okay? Because, ayan, if an employee is monthly paid and the work schedule is Monday to Saturday only, then he came to work on a Sunday, is it correct to pay his work on Sunday to not is it correct not to pay his work on a Sunday? Because as per HR manager, he is paid 365 days. Okay? My question to you guys is, you need to look at your company policy, okay, on what monthly pay actually is. Totoo talaga yung sinabi ng HR manager, 360 monthly paid employees are paid every single day of the month. And usually, ang mga, sino binibigyan ng mga monthly pay? Is it the rank and file or is it the managerial or supervisory employees? So for example kasi, pag mga managerial or mga monthly managerial employees, they're usually not paid overtime or holiday pay. They're also not paid per day. They're paid per month. So for example, let us assume that you have a manager na pinapapasok ng Sunday kasi may emergency, and ang sahod, let's assume natin, is 35,000 a month. Kailangan pa po bang bayaran yung one day na yon na extra? Not really, kasi he's really, tama naman si HR manager, he's not really a daily paid employee but a monthly paid employee. However, you have to be very careful. Kasi if you're not paying that person mataas, why would that person come in on a Sunday? Okay? So in a way, you have to express, how do you say, you have to exercise fairness. Kasi there are only, let's assume, 26 working days in a month. And if pinapapasok mo yung tao na yon for 27 working days, the easiest way is to pay that person extra. But if you're not paying that person extra for that extra days of work, please make sure that you are really compensating that employee well, or hahabulin mo siya sa pagbabayad mo ng bonus kasi that person is outperforming and outworking everybody else in the organization. You must, how do you say it? You must make sure that you are treating people fairly. So the short answer to that, kailangan bang bayaran yung tao na yon? The answer is, there is no hard and fast rule. But if the person is not well paid, please consider actually giving that person an allowance or an extra amount of daily pay. Kasi nga talaga, pumasok naman talaga yung tao sa, ano na yon, sa araw na yon. But let me remind everyone, in other countries, na monthly paid, isang bayad lang po talaga sa other countries. It's really like whatever is the agreed on the contract, yun talaga yung masusunod. So ang sagot dyan is, please always refer back to your original contract on what exactly monthly paid means. Okay? What exactly monthly paid means. Kasi in different companies, different treatment po talaga ang monthly paid. Okay? If nagkaroon ng COVID-19 ng employee, any suggestions sa pwedeng i-offer ng employer sa employee? Wala. Ulitin ko ha. If nagka-COVID-19 ng employee, what can the employer offer to the employee? I will refer back to management prerogative and discretion and kindness to what you offer. Be very careful though. If you are managing 1,000 people and you decide to give ayuda to one, you have to be fair and give ayuda to all. Whatever your treatment is when a person gets COVID, you must do it the same. It must be sustainable. A lot of employers kasi what they do is they give full pay. Kasi hindi naman daw kasalanan ng employee na magkasakit, right? The problem is, kasi full pay naman pala, so what the employee does is, hindi na siya ganun ka-responsible sa health niya. Lahat ng gatherings, pumupunta siya. Um, Ilang beses nagkasakit. Last year, nagkasakit ng COVID. Tapos nagkasakit ulit ng COVID. Tapos this year, na-infect na ng COVID. I mean, there are some employees na 3, 4 beses na na-positive ng COVID. And if you're the poor employer that allowed yourself to pay for the days unworked, then you are asking for it. Reminder to everyone, if the person is sick of COVID, there is SSS sickness and ECC benefit if wala na pong sick leave. Suggestion ko, please fully utilize the sick and vacation leaves of the employee and then refer back to SSS and SSS sickness and ECC benefit. And if, for example, what do you call it? We want to give more, please do so. But you, reminder, please be fair to all. Hindi ka pwede mamigay sa isa, hindi ka mamigay sa iba. Dapat fair lahat. Okay? My suggestion, stick to the dollar rules kasi we don't know when COVID will last. And it's really hard for you to be too kind in the beginning. Meron akong kilala, full pay last 2020. Tapos pag ubos ng pera, pagdating ng 2021, nag-retrench. Eh kung ganun lang pala, sana hindi na lang kayo namigay ng buong pera. Kasi it's better to give, to control the ayuda and keep everybody else than to maging very generous kayo. Tapos pagdating ng panahon, wala na kayong may bibigay kasi ubos na yung pera. Okay? So thank you all for the learnings, Mentor Tina, Coach Darwin. That is very good. PHRG, ito pa. PHRG, heart, heart. Yes, please invite your friends to please like the PHRG group. We welcome you to the club. Yes, managerial position, but no more than 20,000 salary. Yeah, monthly paid talaga yan. However, my question is, if the employee is not happy with the 20,000 salary, he might want to consider looking for another job. Okay? That's the thing. Okay? So, tama naman po si employer. May karapatan naman si employer na hindi mademandahan ng employee na kailangan siyang bayaran kasi pumasok siya ng Sunday. Pero there's also the treatment na if you are not happy with this arrangement, you might want to consider another job or consider, that's why a lot of people ayaw nila ng monthly pay, gusto na daily paid. Gusto nila daily paid. Kasi sometimes daily paid employees, especially those na maraming overtime, ang sahod po talaga nila mga 18 to 20,000. Kasi if you count the overtime, the holiday, and the daily wage, umaabot na po siya ng 20,000. So the managerial employee might want to consider requesting for daily paid if hindi siya happy dun sa kanyang monthly pay. Johnny is asking, paano kung dalawang beses na po nagka-COVID yung employee and wala pa ding pinaprocess na SSS benefit na na-experience ko na ba to? The employee must make sure that you submit the documentation. Ang una kong tatanungin is, nag-submit na ba ng documentation yung employee? You need to submit the SSS sickness notification, which is signed by a licensed doctor. A lot of employees are saying, paano kung mapapasign yung SSS notification ko kung yung RT-PCR result ko is done by the clinic? Walang doktor. Okay? Sa akin, is pag mga HR, the SSS sickness notification form is downloadable in the site, in the SSS website. The medical certificate, which should be signed by the doctor, is also downloadable in the site. If your staff becomes COVID positive, please ask the staff already. I-forward nyo na yung link na yun para at least ma-answer na ng doctor para mabilis yung process. Ang tanong kasi dyan, tama po ba? Kompleto ba yung requirements niyo? Kasi karamihan ng empleyado, mag-a-apply sila ng SSS sickness, pero wala sang sinasubmit sa HR. Kailangan po yung soft copy and hard copy noon bago kaming makapag-apply ng SSS sickness benefit and ECC benefit. Hi, Ms. Tina. Good afternoon. Regarding isolation period, kailangan ba talaga required ng clearance from their health center bago pumasok? Ito yung problema. Marami kasing empleyado, hindi nila dinadaan sa barangay. Hindi nila dinadaan sa LGU. I don't know why. They're so afraid na baka pasukin sila sa quarantine period. Huwag kayong matakot. If meron kayong sariling kwarto, hindi kayo idadala sa quarantine facility kasi puno na po yun. Usually, ang mga dinadala sa quarantine facility is somebody who, what do you call it? Somebody who has no kwarto, separate kwarto in the bahay. Isang kwarto lang po lahat ng tao. Yun yung mga taong dinadala sa quarantine facility. Pero if you have a separate kwarto, usually home isolation lang po. Ask them to get a clearance from their barangay. It's free. Okay? And then even the RT-PCR in the barangay, that's also free. And if they cannot get an antigen or rapid test, there are many LGUs who offer it for free. Okay, so that's one way of palusot. Jam Leonas asking, hello po, is separation pay mandated for the employer? What do you mean? Separation pay is only mandated if you are terminated by the employer for authorized causes. Meaning to say, hindi po kasalanan ng employee na tinanggal siya ng employer. For example, retrenchment, closure of business, redundancy. If you were sick with a disease that is not, you cannot get well after 6 months. If you were replaced by a cost saving device like new technology, then yes, you will have separation pay. However, if you resigned, if you resigned, if your project or contract has ended, if you're contractual or project based and your contract has ended, if you were terminated for just causes, there is no separation pay. Okay? So a lot of people nagsasabi 20 years na ako sa kumpanya, gusto kong umalis, mandated po ba na kailangan ako bigyan ng separation pay? The answer is no. It's not mandated. Gaano katagal ang reimbursement? You have to follow up with the SSS. Matagal po siya. The biggest problem with SSS, kasi diba they're submitting online, and kailangan i-drop box yung hard copy ng HR. Actually, sa totoo lang, ang daming problema din from the side of HR and the SSS. Kasi so many HRs do not actually drop it with SSS. And kahit nag-drop ng HR sa SSS branch, yung hard copy, may nangyayari din that the SSS branch loses the hard copy. If you do that, please make sure na meron kayong Xerox copy bago kayong mag-submit sa SSS. Make sure you have a Xerox copy because in the case when the SSS loses the forms, meron po kayong form na nakasama. Okay? Mrs. De La Santos says, thank you po. So anybody else who would like to ask questions with regards to what's going on, the PHRG group is always here to serve you. And I do honestly think na sa atin na yun, with the cases na maraming, ito lang, in my personal experience, in the contacts that I have, ang daming positive. Families, driver, yaya, kids, senior parents, employees, so many people are positive at the moment. Like in my case, I can say that in my household, meron ding positive. Okay? They live in a different household, they're all positive. Hawa-hawa na talaga. Omicron is very contagious. It may namamatay pa rin, but it's very contagious, very contagious. I've heard experiences na isang kwarto lang for a short moment in time, tapos talaga nagkakahawaan lahat. The good thing is, people are less panicky now, and sanay na po tayo lahat sa COVID-19. So as I've said, balik tayo po dun sa aking presentation. If you know, for example, this is the latest isolation and quarantine period. If you are vaccinated, okay, 7 days from the onset of symptoms. Unvaccinated is 10 days. Okay? My thoughts lang po, for example, is I would strongly suggest HR managers to issue memos on vaccination cards. Please be very careful about your employees submitting fake vaccination cards to your company. Kasi uso na po yon. I strongly suggest as early as now for management to issue a memo indicating that you are not in favor of fake vaccination cards. And if you catch anyone faking their vaccination cards, ito na po yung mangyayari. There will be an NTE, and then because of fraud, there's dismissal. So please unahan ninyo yung tao. Magkakaroon talaga kayo ng empleyado na magsasubmit ng fake vaccination cards. So maaga pa lang, please make sure that you already have a policy about that. Ah. Sabi po ng DOLE, last pay will be processed within 30 days. What if hindi pa po nagpa-process? Ground na po ba mag-complain? My suggestion is, tatanungin po natin muna, gaano katagal po bago i-process yung pay? Alam niyo po ba kung paano magreklamo sa DOLE? Janice, do you know what the process is to complain to DOLE? Okay, here goes. If, for example, may reklamo kayo sa company ninyo against the company, what you need to do is you need to first go to DOLE, to your local DOLE branch, and submit a single entry complaint form. So it's SINA. Okay? SINA form. Doon nyo ilalagay yung mga reklamo nyo against the company. After that, DOLE will send the company snail mail yung reklamo mo, copy of your complaint, asking the company to come and go to the Dole office for mediation. This usually happens 2 weeks to 1 month from the time that you complain. Okay? So magkikita kayo ng employee. Pag kunyari hindi po siya face-to-face, it can also be done on Zoom. Pero when you are face-to-face, then Dole is there to mediate. If hindi kayo nakatugma the first time, magkakaroon kayo ng pangalawang mediation. And if hindi kayo nagtugma, Dole will endorse you to Nlrc. They will give you an endorsement letter wherein you will forward that complaint to Nlrc. Nandun na sa Nlrc. Nlrc will try to mediate pa po with you and the company, giving you at least one chance to come up with a concession. Afterwards, if hindi kayo magkaroon ng concession, you will be asked to make a position paper, usually done with the help of a lawyer. Kung wala po kayong pera, if your earning is below minimum rate, if your earning is below 15,000 pesos, you may avail of the services of the Public Prosecutor's Office, or yung PAO, wherein the lawyer is free. Pero note, you need to pila for the services. You have to actually go to PAO, pipila po kayo, and you need to bring the necessary documents that prove that you cannot pay for your lawyer properly. And you need their services kasi yung income bracket po ninyo mababa. So if for example, if you are a 20,000 peso salary, tulad ng manager na nagko-complain sa Dole about the monthly pay, kailangan hindi po kayo pwede sa PAO. Kailangan po kayo mag-hire ng private lawyer to make your position paper. So let's assume you make a position paper, you submit it on time. Only then siguro the arbiter usually takes 30 days to judge kung sinong tama or mali. If for example, you do not have the money, time, or effort, or natamaan kayo ng COVID, and hindi po kayo nakapag-submit ng position paper, that will be judged parang against you. Do you understand? The reason why I'm sharing with you this is that the entire process of complaining against an employee in the Dole takes around a month and a half. To do so in Nlrc takes 15 days of mediation. The making of position paper takes another 15 days. For the arbiter to rule, it takes around 1 month, and which this might be delayed due to COVID. So from you to actually have a judgment kung tama yung complaint mo or hindi, it takes around 1 month to 3 months. Hindi ibig sabihin pag nagreklamo po kayo, makakakuha po kayo ng winnings. Hindi po ibig sabihin you feel that you are abused, you will immediately be awarded with damages. So for example, with this, 30 days, hindi pa po nilalabas yung final pay. Ang mangyayari po sa inyo is, pag reklamo mo sa Dole, ang mangyayari is, dun na po kayo sa Dole magsisettle ng final pay, which is around 15 to 30 days later. Usually, a company who received a Dole complaint will no longer negotiate with the employee face-to-face, but would do it in front of the arbiter para at least malinaw ang lahat. So before you complain, because delayed po ang final pay, please make sure that talagang malaki ang chance na mananalo kayo ng Dole case. Kasi magbibigay po kayo ng time, effort, especially at a time where, Dole is not open all the time and there's the COVID-19 pandemic going on. And then later on, ang makukuha mo lang pala is your final pay, which should be released to you anyway. Do you get it? So, sa akin, okay lang po mag-complain if, for example, tulad kayo ng isang 20-year-old employee na pinaparesign ng isang kumpanya kasi gusto siyang i-transfer sa isang ibang kumpanya. Kasi the separation pay for that is 10 months. 10 months of full pay. Versus somebody who's fighting for a final pay na hindi na-release ng 30 days. Okay? When that happens, it might be more prudent to actually talk to the HR and ask them for the final pay. Baka mas mabilis po yun versus complaining to Dole. And chances are, ito rin sa akin, a lot of employers also do not like to hire employees who have gone through Dole na. Okay? Bakit? Kasi a lot of, kayo po, if for example, nalaman po ninyo na yung nanliligaw sa inyo, ma-chicks. Meron palang third party before. For example lang. Or every time nagkaroon siya ng girlfriend, meron siyang third party. Susutahin mo ba ba yung tao na yun? A lot of employers, they prefer employees who would want to talk to them face to face and settle the problems with them properly than an employee who cannot wait and then just goes directly to Dole to complain. Okay, there are many other ways to get what you want without complaining. So, I strongly suggest you follow alternative methods before you complain to Dole kasi hindi ibig sabihin pag nagreklamo po kayo, agad-agad kayong mababayaran. Dole is usually rules in favor of the employee. Two-thirds of the case, majority of the case, is ruled in favor of the employee. Pero pagdating sa final pay po, you only get your final pay and there are no other damages. Okay? And even if you want to pursue its NLRC, please make sure you have a friend who is a lawyer and who can help you with your position paper for your case to proceed. Okay? So last two questions na po and then we'll end this broadcast. Sabi ni Janica, paano po pagdating ng ruling ng DOLE? Employer or company yung tama and si EE ang may mali sa employee nila. Pwede ba si company mag-demand ng damages? Everyone can demand for damages. The company can demand for damages. But it takes money, time, and effort to hire a lawyer to ask for damages. And ito lang yung kasi yung problema eh. I do know a relative who filed a complaint against their employer and who actually won. Nanalo po siya ng 90,000 pesos in winnings kasi talaga po dapat binayaran po ng employer niya yung pera sa kanya. Hindi siya binayaran kasi ng 3 to 4 months eh. Iba po ang panalo, iba po ang sumingil. Ulitin ko ha. Iba po pag manalo ka ng case sa DOLE versus sumingil ka ng damages against kung sino ang natalo. If the employer wants to sue for damages, you have to pay for your lawyer. A lawyer will usually charge you 30 to 50,000 pesos for acceptance fee and for writing of the position paper, especially if you're actually complaining against an employee who is already quiet. Gets nyo? So, if you want to do that, you can. And kunyari nanalo kayo. Nanalo kayo ng emotional damage, chuchu, ganyan. Paano kayo sisingil? Saan? Number one, saan nyo hahanapin yung employee? Chances are, lumipat na yung tao. Umuwi na sa probinsya. After po then, is, kahit na nahanap nyo po yung employee, pag walang pera, paano nyo sisingilin? Wala naman siyang bank account. Hindi nyo naman siya mapakulong. Because it's another case. Right? Non-payment of debt is another case. So you have to file another case. Chances are, mas malaki pa po ang igagastos ninyo than the winnings that you will get from an employee. And bad kasi yan. Bad. Kasi ang taong mas walang pera kaysa sa'yo, wag nyo nang apihin. Pabayaan na lang po ninyo. Be the better person and let the person go and karma will be good to you. Okay? Ato. Can an employer file a case before the NLRC? Na na na. What case are you going to file? Okay? Can employer file a case before the NLRC? Yeah. What case are you going to file? If the person stole from you, if a person, you catch somebody stealing from you, for example, let's assume HR payroll officer na nagnakaw sa isang kumpanya. Nakanakaw siya ng millions of pesos because of may access siya doon sa SSS loan tsaka sa eGov. It happens. You don't file a complaint in NLRC. You file a criminal case with the prosecutor's office. Ulitin ko ha. When an employee does damages to an employer, do not go to NLRC. You file the criminal case in the prosecutor's office. My SOP, pag ninakawan po ang isang kumpanya, please make sure that you investigate properly. And once you have already definitively said that the person, the employee, did the crime, please file a qualified theft against the employee sa prosecutor's office na. What happens kasi is every time na nagnanakaw yung tao, ang count niyan is once you file, you attend the subpoena, you attend the hearing, and then the prosecutor will determine if you have a case or not. Okay? If strong yung evidence nyo na talaga itong tao na to ang nagnakaw or nag-damage a company, the prosecutor will be the one to file. And yes, I've had experiences where the prosecutors ask the employee to pay quite a bit of money. Parang ano siya, marami na rin akong arrest warrants dahil sa mga employees na nagnanakaw. So yeah, can an employer file a case against an employee's NLRC? My suggestion is not. Wag na sa NLRC. Kung meron ka namang kaso against sa employee, diretso mo na sa prosecutor office kung talagang mabigat ang kaso mo. Gets? Don't waste your time. Don't waste NLRC's time. And again, employees should not have problems. Wag mo na masyadong damdamin yung employee. Kasi, and dole cases is life. Okay? No such, sabi nito, no such thing for an employer filing a case in NLRC and DOLE. The mandate of DOLE and NLRC is to protect the employee. Go to MTC or RTC. Bakit ba kasi kayo lagi-lagi magdodole tsaka magtutulfo? If may reklamo kayo doon sa isang tao, please file nga. Tama nga po yung sinabi, please file it na lang sa MTC or RTC. Okay? Yun talaga possible. Also, be very careful. If, for example, if you're going to file a case, please make sure that if you're, for example, a company was a victim to a crime and ninakawan po kayo, please make sure as much as possible the person who is filing the case will still be there 2 to 3 years later. Okay? Kasi when the court subpoenas you to show up, it is much better that the person who physically filed the case will be the one to show up and be the witness to the court. Kasi I've had experiences na ninakawan po kami. Yung witnesses ng pagnanakaw na yun, 3 years later, yun pa yung tinatawag sa korte. And it's really a hassle when that person resigns. So, fun tip, if you're going to file a case, make sure sana it is the owner who files it or the lawyer who represents it. Kasi if you're going to ask a supervisor to file a case, chances are baka magkakaproblema lang kayo sa case later on when everybody is no longer in the company. Sayang naman po. But the justice system is very fair. If the person did steal money, then talaga po the justice system is quite fast naman po talaga. So, I still believe it. Nakailang arrest warrant na po kasi kami. Pero yun talaga, you need to properly file a qualified theft case sa MTC or RTC para at least meron talagang kapit. Wag sa DOLE, wag sa NLRC, at definitely wag sa Tulfo. So with that, thank you so much for joining me at the HR Cafe. Once again, I am just subbing for Sir D. Ancot, who is supposed to talk about adversity. Pero I hope that you guys have learned something in the cafe. And at the very least, even if our cases now have risen to profound heights, I hope that everybody is still keeping calm, following strict health protocols, respecting the isolation and quarantine period, and praying for the best. Please mind you, kahit na po sinasabi natin hindi to siya very severe, marami pa rin pong namamatay. I do have family members who have passed away with COVID-19 over the last 1 to 2 months. Okay? So it does not mean that parang hindi po na-infect kayo, wala kayong kakilalang namatay, hindi po kayo mamatay because COVID-19 is still a deadly disease. So I strongly hope everybody keeps safe and stay at home as much as possible. So with that, I greet everybody a very happy Sunday, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this version of the HR Cafe. And if you want to support me, please feel free to like and subscribe my page at www.tinainmanila.com. Thank you so much, Cherry. Thank you so much to everyone who is watching here. And we look forward again to next week's HR Cafe with Sir Oliver, who will talk about discrimination in talent acquisition. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat po.